Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. This is Connie with Prairie Paper Crafts. I'm going to be sharing with you today how I do the inking, and if I get that far, the assembly of a paper piece. The piece is actually from Scrapping Bug Designs. She is no longer in business, but what I wanted to share with you are more the techniques. It's not just the design. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with my little wing for the bee first, and I'm just using an turquoise color, excuse me. I'm not going to be sharing all the colors I use, and a lot of the colors I don't know what they are, the actual names, so I can give you a couple, but so many people use so many different colors, different brands of stamp pads, ink pads, whatever. So it's, whatever you kind of have close, whatever you want to use, it's your creative choice. I will tell you this is just some white Nina Bristol vellum that I'm using for right now. I'm using up what I have in my stash. My preferred paper brands, are American Crafts and Basil. But again, using what I have, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started, and maybe I'll see about putting my glasses on. I hope I'm not too close to the camera. Excuse me. I want to give you a couple things what I did here. This stamp pad, this finger dauber already had ink on it. I primarily use finger daubers. Or pom-poms, and I'll show you another option if you don't have pom-poms that you can certainly use. But what I do is I just make sure that my stamp, excuse me, it's been an off day. I make sure that my finger daubers are quite dry. So I'm just going to bring a piece of scratch paper in here somewhere. And if I stamp down, and I'm pressing very hard, I don't know if you can see that little blob right here, but there's not much ink on there. And I'm okay with that, because if there was a lot of ink, you would have a lot of ink on here. My suggestion is, if you're not sure how much ink is on your finger dauber, or when you put it in your stamp pad and I'm not sure, how much ink did I get on there, stamp into the lid of your stamp pad for a bit, and then use that finger dauber on a scratch piece of paper, the same paper you're going to ink on, and you'll find out how much ink you have. So it's a good rule of thumb. I know most of mine are dry, and about how much ink, if I'm never sure, I have a lot of scratch paper that I use all the time, so just to give you an idea. And as far as black, I do use Stampin' Up! Whisper White, However, you can also use Distress Ink Picket Fence. This works really well too. It's going to pretty much work the same way. The only difference will be, and I haven't used the Distress Ink on the black yet, but I know that can stay wet longer. So what you want to do, because pigment ink will stay wet for quite a while, so you want to be really careful. My ink pad is not real juicy, even though it maybe looks like it, and my finger dauber has ink on it, so, and it'll stay, the ink will stay in that finger dauber wet a lot longer than it will the dye-based ink. I'm sorry, I don't know what's wrong. I can't think straight today right now. So I just try to keep my fingers somewhat out of the way, because like I said, this is drier. My sponge dauber is drier, so not so bad. But as you can see, I go at about a 45-degree angle, And I really am just getting just the lightest edge. I don't want a lot of ink on the black. I just want it to be highlighted a little bit. Now if this was the sponge dauber, if it was freshly dabbed in my ink pad or my stamp pad, I would have a very wet dauber and I would have ink everywhere. So if that's the case, you want to get a Tombow mono eraser. It's like it feels like real light grit sanding paper. Mine's filthy. And it'll take white off of black very easily. I don't have good luck with other colors, but it does do that pretty good. So just a hint. And those are readily available. You just have to search for them. I'm sure Amazon still has them. And then my other colors, I do a little bit different yet, so I will explain that. But I wanted to share with you part of the reason I haven't been on YouTube quite as much, and actually not on my Facebook page quite as much. A friend of mine convinced me to give you a little bit of a heads up. Last year I was gone for quite a while. Early in the year, I had been diagnosed with congestive heart failure, and throughout the year I was in and out of the hospital some, and was diagnosed with more health conditions as my heart failure gets worse, and the longer I've had it, because I've had it a lot longer than when it was diagnosed. So that, on top of many other issues, including a couple serious musculoskeletal problems, I tend to be gone more, and I apologize. Putting my ink pad away. Doing the best I can, and I'm not asking for sympathy. I just don't want you guys to think that I kind of forgot everybody, and I never realized how much congestive heart failure actually can do to you. So I'm familiar with it, but not to the great degree that, yeah, it's going here. And it's not just, that I can't breathe and very well sometimes, and from my lungs, and I have a hard time talking. There are a lot of other things going on with it, so that's part of the reason I don't always feel the greatest. So I wasn't going to share, I try to keep things to myself more. I said, I don't want any sympathy. It's just at this point managing somewhat, not real great, but could always be worse. Lots of people have things much worse, and I tell myself that. So okay, enough of that sad story. You could use the tweezers to hold on to these, but of course that would be too smart, right? Those are for the little antennas there. So I'm trying to slowly get back to videos because of some of the medicine I take. It's kind of scary, but I sleep sometimes. I say sometimes I sleep my normal hours at night, and then I take medicine and I'm back to sleep for, sometimes 3 to 4 hours. So it's 2 naps a day I take, plus if I can sleep at night. So I want to show you something here. I kind of made a big mistake, and I gotta kind of be careful because I forget to clean it up. But anyway, and when I say over, I mean I over filled my stamp pad. So it got ink everywhere, and like I said, I gotta clean it up, but it works. So this is really, really juicy, the part that's inked. In the lid, and be careful so I don't have ink everywhere. I don't know if you can see, there's quite a bit of ink in the lid. I just start working with the lid first, and I'm going to show you what I mean by stamping over here. I just picked up some ink that was in the lid, and I pressed down pretty hard this time, and there's quite a bit of ink in there, and I don't want that much, so I come back over onto my lid. Sorry, it's probably bumping the camera, but I come back and I just tap off. Use your paper if you need to. Go light-handed because you can always add more, but you can't take away, and it's no problem. So if you do over ink your stamp pads, which I try to be more careful, but sometimes I think I'm in another world when I do things. So there are ways to fix it. And see, it looks fine. I'll add another color. I'll show you what I do, but I guess my big thing is I'd rather put more ink to have to add and go around than too much, because too much, again, I don't think you'll be very happy with it. The other thing, dye-based inks, that's what I use, except once in a while I use distress inks. I prefer dye-based inks just the way I know that they dry and stuff, where in distress inks I don't always get a full coverage. So I use those for a lot of other things, but every once in a while I do. But dye-based inks, yeah, they dry a lot lighter than when you put them on. So this may look even dark, but it'll dry quite a bit lighter, so that's one thing to keep in mind. I still will use just a scratch piece of paper that I'm going to throw in the garbage from a cut, keep that paper and see how the ink is going to match. So that's another thing I do when I'm inking, because I use usually at least 2 different colors of ink on my pieces. So when I'm doing the lighter color, or the color that nearly matches my paper, I do it more at a 90-degree angle. I just don't go in too far. And then I come back, and I'll show you here in a minute what I'm going to do around the outside to get the darker contrast. That's what I'm looking for. I just need to find the colors. So, and then I need to figure out what oh heavens, I tell you, I lose so many things. That's not it. I needed that one. I'm just gonna get it. Fresh dauber here. I don't show you my craft area because I just work on 2 4-foot tables, and I work in a cramped little area. It works fine. So I have a clean sponge dauber. This is a fairly well inked stamp pad, so I'm just going to pick up some ink. I have quite a bit of ink on that, as you can see here. So I like it a little bit darker, but yeah, not quite that dark. Now I go at, what is this, a 90-degree angle? I don't know. I'm basically wanting to get most of my ink, sounds crazy, but on the edge of the paper. A little bit will come through, but just, not a lot. And I'll show you. So you see the contrast, or the one on this side has the ink around the edges, the darker. This doesn't. And I'll come back and show you how light that gets, because this is lightening up already, as you can already tell. So certain colors don't do that very well. Don't remember which ones. And certain paper does not take ink well. And it can be the same brand of paper. It's just the color. I don't know what the difference is, but I found that too. Now, I don't have that problem so much with Basil and American Crafts. Other brands I do. So I'm not saying you have to use them. Please don't get me wrong. I'm just telling you from my experience what the deal is. So, and I have to figure out what color is what here, and get some ink pads. Okay, so I'm going to do the easy part first, or the part that I don't need anything else with, and I'm going to just go around once with the ink that's on here, and then I'll come back and add some more. So when I told you about what's going on health-wise, it's basically some days are, well, okay, good, I guess, anymore is what I would consider good, and some days are not so good. I could go a couple weeks and not feel good, so it's kind of difficult, you know. But please don't let that stop you from asking questions. If you need something, I will do my best, you know, to get back to you and do what I can there. This is actually more of a, I think it's Rusty Hinge from Tim Holtz Distress Inks on the outside. I like to do either orange, or peach, or something, and I know I had this color in there. I didn't want to get another ink color out. So now, two ways you can do this, and I don't have a clean pom-pom out, but I will just show you from this. This is a 5mm. I also have 3mm. You would just put it in your stamp pad, lay it down, and go around the edges. Easy enough. I have another method I use. I just take a little bit of a piece of copy paper, scratch paper, whatever. I like it to be fairly thin, like the copy paper weight, okay? I stick it in my curves here, and it's just not, I'm not saying this is the easiest in the world, but it works, you know. If I don't always have pom-poms, and I gotta get some more, so. And then I can just go around. And there I have it. So I'm just gonna keep going around like that. I can sometimes just do it with like the side edge of my sponge dauber, to be honest. Whatever works for you, you know. I've done it both ways. It just, a lot of times it depends upon how much ink I've got on my sponge dauber and a lot of things. But I wanted to let you know that there are, you know, alternative ways that you can do it, and it works perfectly fine. So whatever works for you. I don't know how to say, you know, we all have different ways of doing things, I guess, and I just recommend finding what works best for you. I don't necessarily think you have to go out and buy a bunch of tools and stuff right away to get started. You could use old makeup brushes, pom-poms, like I said. Sometimes Q-tips work for things. Getting my ink out. Just trying to think. You know, there's a lot of different things. So, well, let's see. And I have well-loved used sponge daubers too. Pretty soon I'm gonna have to trim this little guy because they get too scraggly and then they start messing up. Sorry if I'm not in frame right away. They start putting ink where you don't want them, so best to give them a little trim with the little scissors. I have a Fiskars. I lose things so fast. Good grief. I have a little Fiskars that I like. It's Fiskars Easy Action. In fact, I got rid of one because I thought I lost the spring and I found it. So now if I lose the spring, I've got it back. Now, if you don't have multiple colors, that's another thing. If you're new and don't have a lot of colors, you can use, I've seen some beautiful pieces, said this before, with one color of ink for everything. And say you're going to use brown. Basically, you would just do what I'm doing here. You're just going to use like a light color, right? Or a light hand. And then let it dry a little bit. Come back. And with the same color, but more ink on the finger dauber or whatever you're using, go around the edges like this. You'll be surprised. Look how light that's gotten already compared to what it was. So it's the color I wanted. It's going to be fine. It's just showing you how much it lightens up. And some colors do, some don't. You really will get used to that the more you paper piece and ink things. And if you don't want to do that second color for contrast, by all means you don't have to. You know, it looks nice just with one color. It's all a preference. This is how I do it, but again, not that you have to. Sorry. Okay, so I've got a couple of little indentions. I can feel one here, obviously at the curve of the hand. So I take my sponge dauber and I hold it, I don't know if you can see this, do it this way, almost laying it flat to the piece, just a hair off. And then I use just this very, very edge to do that. And I can do it sometimes with it. I don't have markers, so more than likely what I'm going to end up doing is I just do it a little bit here, but I'll come in and do it more with a colored pencil just to give it more dimension. This is not the best sponge dauber to be doing it with because it is so fringed, but if you just basically, hold it almost flat to the piece. Just practice, you know, that's how I've learned. Between that and so strange as it sounds, studying other people's work, seeing how the techniques they follow and videos, that's how I've learned to paper piece. I didn't have anybody really, or inking and everything. I didn't have a lot of videos to follow. I want to say, I don't remember exactly when the first, I call it the baby Cricut, the original Cricut, the 6x12 inch came out. I've been paper piecing since that came out, but I mostly started with Cricut and cartridges. I didn't have all the SVGs. It was maybe, I don't know, 5 years later, 3 to 5 years later that I started working with SVG files. So now this is a little bit, I got a little bit carried away. So like I said, this sanding eraser, it works somewhat. It's not real, the ink wasn't real dark, so I got most of it out. And part of it I can kind of buff out with the chalk for the cheeks and such. So yeah, this sponge dauber is either going in the garbage or gonna get a trim. I think probably the garbage is a good plan. Okay, now I'm gonna go around with the dark and we should be done. Oh. I have to be careful with the dark because it's got quite a bit of ink in the stamp pad also. So now this gets to looking quite dark until I start working with it. And I also remember some colored penciled colors that colored pencil classes, coloring classes that I took, and seeing, you know, the faces, the way they colored them always look darker until you got everything put together, and it's true. But I want to show you something. Look at the difference, how much lighter this is already, I say faded, so to speak, and then this dark brown that I'm putting on will also fade. So it looks dark now, but it'll come together. And by the time you put highlighters and things, you know, on it, it all works. So okay, one piece left of this ear, and we're done. And some of the, what do I say, techniques, principles of paper piecing, whether this piece, like I said, it's no longer available, but it pertains to any piece really. I'm going by memory on this one because I don't have my video or my computer open. I didn't ink this piece, it's the center of the flower, and I'm going to put glitter on it. So normally I put blue or gray, but I don't want, excuse me, I don't want blue on the center of my flower this time. So I try to be careful on the amount of ink I use. I use the edge of my tweezers if I get ink on it to get it off. Now the flower's going that way because he's sitting facing to the left. So let me think about this, how this works. I don't know if that's exactly right. That's how I'm putting it on. How about that? I can't remember. I'm not going to be putting glitter and everything on. I did the honey pot and I put the glossy accents on it that I wanted, and then I promptly put the lid of my sponge dauber case in the wet glossy accent, so I have to go over it again. Okay, now I have the eyes. The eyes are basically the same size. So what I do is, let me think about this, about the bottom 2/3 or 3/4 of the black, I put, sorry if I get my head in here, Let's see if I'm in frame. Okay, I put the black up a little bit from the bottom of the white. You can see that real well. And here, I'll try to put it up better. You can see that way. And then I try to get the whites about the same on both eyes. Keep in mind I said try, because sometimes it's a little bit off. Now, I think I have way too much glue, so I don't use my hands, because I have so many skin allergies, so I just put it off on a piece of scratch paper that I've been using my inks for, and I put them together, and that's pretty close. I'm going to set those aside. I want to get my 2 dots out of the way. I'm going to start on my bumble bear, whatever I want to call it, and just putting glue on the inside of the ear. I normally start with the pieces that go to the back first, which would be like arms and legs and ears. This one will be an exception with one of the legs and one of the arms. I'll show you in a bit here. Okay, I don't have a real good rhyme or reason to how I put things together. Now, this is the body, and it being a bumble bear again, so to speak. This is going to go on first, and again, he's facing looking to my left. That's why I have part of the body back there. So it kind of looks, sometimes the pieces look weird and like, really? That's not going to make sense. And then once they all go together, it's like, oh, yeah, they do. I didn't study art. I know a little bit about, what do I want to say? Like dimension, when you're drawing a road and it gets more narrow as it goes farther into the distance, stuff like that. And perspective, maybe I think that might be the word I'm looking for. But anyway, that's about all I know. Okay, I'm not sure about this. I think we're going to end up going, these are the stripes, and I think they're going to go like this. And that's not going to work really too well to fit with the others, but it's going to have to. This is what I do. I dry piece everything like this to make sure I know how it's supposed to go. Now this one is not working. It's got to go. Yeah, see, there's 2 don't. This one, did I make it work? Nope. I'm not going to turn the computer on just for this. And I have the phone, I'm using it, so not an option. We'll figure it out. I've put one other piece of these together, but not. So that's just bugging me. Well, we might have to stop here. Let me figure out what else I can look at. That one does not. But it's fitting here. We might be in business, folks. Let's see. This one I know goes here. Possibly this one goes down here. These are curving up more. I think we got it. Let's see. And then this one. Could go. That's how I'm going. I thought I had it in my head, and then these threw me off, so I am sorry about that. Excuse my fingers, I washed them off, but I just washed them with water, and my hands are always full of ink. Even my neighbors have gotten used to it when they see me, because it sometimes takes quite a while for the ink to wear off. Amazing. I think until, I quit paper piecing someday in the future, it will probably always amaze me how these little pieces of paper can come together and make a little critter come to life. Or, a little person, so to speak. So, excuse me. Okay. Now, trying to think, his head should probably, I think, go this way. I'm gonna have to dry piece the rest of this because I'm not 100% sure. So I know he's got a leg here, and this one might go back a little bit further. This, I'm gonna tilt his head a little more. That's what it is. Okay, we're good. I'm gonna put his head together and then in his face and come back. I put my ears down a little bit further than most people do maybe, but I don't like them up on top of the head. I like them down further. Some designers have a background like a shadow piece, or if you're used to the old Cricut, the blackout piece, so you can build that on that base. Sometimes that can be a help, sometimes it's a hindrance. It just kind of depends on what I'm working on. This does not, so. I do have Cosmic Shimmer Flake and Glitter Glue that you can put on stuff and then let it dry so it's tacky, and then you can put it on. I'm not going to do that this time. I'm just going to go put my muzzle, just leave it on there dry, and then figure out, I'm going to put the nose on somewhat, kind of hold that, and then I have an idea of where I'm putting the eyes. And I forgot something. Well, I'll work it out another way, but okay. Thought I was gonna drop that piece. I want to get these two out of the way. I kind of try to get them in the center and about the same height up and down. Let me see. I'm a little bit off on the height of them overall, but I'm good with that, where they're at. And if you want to stick around and watch me put the rest of it together, that's fine. If you've gotten this far, thank you for sticking with me. I'm going to be doing that face now. If you want to stop or stay with that, otherwise, I want to thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I will get back to you. I will have I'll be sharing the finished bear, hopefully, if you don't stick around, but I'm going to be doing a scrapbook layout, and so we'll be having it there. I forgot to take pens out, so it'll be just a moment while I do some searching here. I think they're too far away. I just need one more, but I don't see it in here. I guess I really didn't know if I was going to do the detailing on the video, but I might as well since I'm working on it. I've decided to do a few more 8.5 by 11 scrapbook layouts. I actually don't mind them too bad. I've got some pictures of just one photo for a layout, so works well for those. Okay, so I have a little bit of a where I went over into the white, and let that dry a little bit, and I can easily fix that, but it has to be dry. So I can sit and stare at stuff on my desk for, I don't know, a few minutes or more, wondering where I put, excuse my reach, where I put something, and it's right in front of me. I hope I'm not the only one. It's getting worse. It's kind of, if you are not familiar with pan pastels, that stuff on the side here, don't smudge it, just blow it off or erase it. But your best bet is first just to blow it off, and then if you need, erase. Otherwise it tends to smear. So because it's such a smooth chalk, it's better just to erase. I make a mess with these, but they erase so incredibly nice. So here's an area where if you have what do I want to say, if you don't have these little tools like this, they're just makeup false eyelash applicators, I'm not sure, but I used to use like a 1/8 inch angled shader paintbrush to put them on, which, because it's paper, it tends to wear down the brush, but they last longer than you think. And then you could use, what do I want to say, any kind of a fine makeup brush, just kind of going around to kind of clean it up a little bit. I don't know how well pom-poms would work there. Not pom-poms, Q-tips. You could try it, but I'm afraid it might be a little bit thick. So there, I just put some white on that little spot and we're good. I think I told somebody Macron, like I said, my train of thought sometimes is not there, but they're micron, and I used 02 to go around initially, and I'm going to do that again just to kind of bring it back. and then I use 005, and they're all black for the eyelashes. I found that the smaller the number of pen, the smaller the tip, better the eyelashes I can do. So, but sometimes I don't always have control with that either. I don't use curved eyelashes too long or too often. I'm not very good at that yet, and I have the best luck with just straight, and I stick with what I can do. Put too much more stress on my hands and nothing will work great, so. Okay. Lots of different ways to detail eyes. I do these. Sometimes I'll put a little line along the outside, you know, curved line. Really, whatever you prefer. Again, it's not anything you have to do one way or another. I like a little chalk in his eyes. These are brush sticks. I don't remember, again, excuse me, where I got them. I've had them for a while. I had a pom-pom out here, yeah, or this is also a brush stick, so it's just a round top. I'm just getting some chalk here for the cheeks. I use 3 or 4 different colors and mix them together. Sometimes I just use 2, and then I put them on my paper here. Otherwise they're going to be pretty dark, and I'm trying to go really light on here, so. But sometimes a little bit darker, you have to use a little bit heavier hand. Again, not that heavy. I'm just gonna go with it, otherwise I'll have a mess. No, it's fine. Forgot what I was gonna say. Here you could also use little cotton balls or pom-poms if you don't have chalk. You can use, I don't suggest using your new or your regular makeup, but blush, just makeup. Just go get some cheap makeup. If you have a dollar store, you know, pick out a couple colors that you might think you'll use. Or if you've got some old and don't use it, just use it on paper. Works fine. I've done it quite often. Have no problem with it. Not that I have any more money now than when I started out paper piecing, but I've over time gotten some stuff. You know, I don't get it all at once. Never had that luxury, and which is fine. But so I'm just giving you some options too. I realize I'm off the camera here. Sorry. So I put the nose up just a little bit higher than the muzzle there. Then I come back with my 005 pen, a micron pen. I'm just going to draw a straight line. That one eye's bugging me. I gotta blend it out better. Too much chalk. Okay, and now if I can get a little bit of what's left on here in his nose. I'm going to come up here on his eyebrows, and I use some more pan pastels in a brownish color, and I just put a tiny bit on my little thing here, and go over that. I want to blow off the one side. Okay, I need a little more over here, not much. Okay, just about done here. We can put them all together. And again, if you've been with me this whole time, thank you ever so much. Sometimes it takes me longer than this to paper piece because I don't usually have even half the stuff out that I had today. So, and I'm putting him at a little bit of an angle, his head. Not much, but just the tiniest bit. And then I'm going to put this leg on first, right around where the yellowish and the black kind of meet. So just put a little bit of, if you see pencil marks ever on the back of my pieces, if you're new here, I don't paper piece all at once. I mean, I cut and then I go and I throw everything in little baggies. Then when I'm ready to assemble things, I take them out and what was I going to say? I mark the back with the pencil. I should probably take them off, those pencil marks, but yeah, I just leave them on. Just want a little bit of glue here. Okay, before I forget, let's see how these go together. I can't remember how I had this. Yeah. So definitely the backs. I marked these two. Let's see. They just gotta go a little bit like this, because let me put these on the tops. There's not much to glue them on here, but let me put them on and then I'll let them dry a little bit. And see once which way they should go on. I think what I'm going to do is, I think this is the wrong side up. Yeah. Because I'm going to put glitter on his nose, even though I put the white line on there anyway. I think I'm going to put glitter on the little balls on these antennas, the little black balls. And, but I have to think about that a minute. Okay. Let's put this wing on before I forget. You could emboss that if you want. I'm just going to leave it plain. And it does go up like this. Bring this in. Now we're going to have, let's put the arm on behind. going to be holding the flower. And okay, put some glue on down here. If you're struggling with the paper piece and would like some assistance on how to put it together, excuse me, you're more than welcome to leave a comment. I can certainly do my best to help you out. If you know something I need to get the file, I'm fine with that. I have a, let's see, a bad habit, I guess I'll put it that way, of collecting SVG files. It's not good, but okay. So I'm more than happy, like I said, to help you out doing that. Not sure. I don't really like this paw because it seems kind of big. But yeah, I'm gonna put it there. Let me just set it there. Yeah, I'll put it there. For me, it's the little details that finish off the piece. Sometimes I play forever with these crazy little critters and think, oh, it's time to stop. But now here, I'm not 100% sure if that's the direction it's supposed to go, but that's the way I'm putting it. Should choose my other glue bottle. It's a little bit smaller tip, but this is fine. Okay, I do have to cap this though. Maybe. And then I'm going to put the glitter on. It'll be just a moment while I find that. I tend to use mostly Nouveau glitter. Let me get this out of the way. Or Pops of Color. I have some stickles. For some reason, they dry up on me. I don't know what I do, but yeah, I have kind of a struggle with this. So, and I also use a lot of liquid pearls. Okay, so this is Pops of Color, and better start at the top because otherwise we'll have a mess. Meaning I'll have my fingers or hands and arms in all the glitter somewhere along the way. I don't like the, what do you call it? Glossy accents. So you could also put glitter on the wing, or you could have used glitter paper. I just cut this kind of on a whim, so to speak, so I didn't get all that done. And I do have the title. It's Just Being Me is what it says. This isn't stuck on very well. Glue that down first. Trying to figure out how to do it so I don't have glue and glitter everywhere. A lot of times when I come back and do is once the glitter dries, I will come in and put glossy accents over it because I have a struggle, even with sometimes with Nouveau drops and pops of color, I have a struggle with the glitter still drying up, so I think it's the way I apply it. If you got any hints, please, by all means, leave a comment. Okay, so there is my little bear. I'm just going to put on a little bit of white chalk for some highlighting. Should have done this first, folks, but you know. Goes against my grain lately to do anything in any kind of order. Try to be so careful how much chalk I get on my brush, because sometimes you hardly need any and you've got way too much. So I'm going to find my fingers buff it out very well. Okay, not quite done. Sorry. Normally I would put the glitter on last, and I forgot about these small details. So here we are. The little guy needs a tail. Just realized that. There wasn't one on the pattern. I should have cut one. Okay, there is my finished piece. Thank you all for joining me. Have an awesome day. I will be back with the what do I want to say, layout as soon as I get everything finished. So have an awesome day. Take care.